Welcome to the show with no interference. Get all your NFL needs made by fans for the fans. We are your hosts, West Side, Big Sass, and the Bull. So here we go. All right, welcome to the show. This is No Interference. We are running a bit slim today, so it's just going to be West Side and Big Sass. No Bull today.
The real duo.
Yeah, they're the only ones you care about. So it's kind of slim pickings in the NFL world this week. Everyone's really just waiting on the holdouts from OTAs. And we're in the heart of NBA and NHL playoffs. So if the NFL ever had kind of a downtime, this is it until someone tears their ACL. So,
Well, you just put bad juju on someone out there.
Listen,
the odds are that some player in the NFL probably tore their ACL tomorrow if there's practices.
If it happens, I'll put out a personal apology on Twitter.
I'm going to Google it tomorrow.
So just some fan favorites, I guess you'll say, are retiring. Frank Gore, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Alex Mack officially announced their retirement from the league. Frank Gore, probably a Hall of Famer, would you say?
I mean, once you get out of the quarterback position, I feel like it starts mattering less about wins and whatnot. Like, you only have so much control over how your team does as a running back. And especially now, they're so, like, they don't have any input. Like, they're so, the value is just not there like it used to be. And I mean, Frank Gore played for 15 years. He was a Pro Bowler with San Francisco. I don't know if he was ever a Pro Bowler with anybody else. I think just San Francisco. But
Yeah.
I mean, he was 37 with the Jets and he had 653 yards. Granted, his average only once was over 4 yards after 2015, but he was 32 at that point.
Yeah.
I think his longevity and effectiveness by itself should get him into the Hall of Fame. And I mean, he just happened to be on like no Super Bowl winning teams. I don't think he was a detriment to his team at all.
This has always been my 2 cents about Frank Gore. It's all about longevity and, I guess, consistency. He probably realistically only had one elite season, which was his second year, I think.
1,700 yards.
And after that, he had a string of good years with the Niners, but I don't think at any point would you ever say he was like one of the best backs in the league. And I know he's number 3 all time in rushing yards now, and that counts, I guess. But
you know what's funny? Looking at his stats, that second year you just mentioned, he had 1,600 yards. He did have a 5.5 yard carry average. He had 8 touchdowns. But if you look at the rest of his career with the 49ers until he was 31 in 2014, he had 1,000 yards every year except for once when he only played 11 games. He had 850 yards. He averaged around 8 touchdowns and 1,200 yards and a 4.5 yard carry, a couple times closer to 5. He never got over 250 carries except for a few times.
That's why he lasted so long.
Yeah, I mean, he had 300 carries his second year, 260. He had 282 once, 276 once, but everything else was 240, 220. And he played some of these seasons, he's playing a full season. Like 3 years in a row, he was a Pro Bowl with 2011 to 2013. He played every game, 282, 258, 276. He had 1,200 yards each year and 8, and 9 touchdowns. So, I mean, what do you think the average is for, like, how many carries was Adrian Peterson and Chris Johnson? They're getting over 300, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you get like, what would you say, 325, 350?
probably.
So, I mean, if you gave him that many, would his yards would extend to that 1,500 range probably, and maybe he'd have a 10-year career or an 8-year career instead of a 15-year career, but would we still look at it? I would still look at him as a Hall of Famer probably.
My only thing is like when you think of Frank Gore, when you like what pops out to for Frank Gore, um, durability. Like you would say like his best ability was his availability, and I'm just like, is that like Hall of Fame worthy? Like I don't.
I
I
see what
guess
you're
I mean because
saying.
of it's just like with MLB. There's plenty of forgettable players that put up numbers where you're like, oh, well, they hit that threshold. You got to put them in, but it's just like I don't know. And also, worst nickname ever in sports:
What's his nickname?
the inconvenient truth.
Oh, I completely forgot that that was his nickname. Was that
Garbage.
self-proclaimed?
No, I think uh it was given to him. Uh, it was given to him like his like first couple years in the NFL, and I mean, I bet most fans wouldn't know it, but if you ever listen to like an NFL like films video and he comes on, you hear I think it's like Chris Collinsworth or someone going, "The inconvenient truth," and
Mm,
I'm just like, I mean, Hall of Famers have good nicknames in my opinion.
that's fair enough. Well, your point. I think the point. What? So you're pretty much saying that he has that longevity, but he doesn't have like. Because when you were talking, I was thinking, I was like, what do I really remember about Frank Gore? I remember that he was a San Francisco 49er and that he was consistently good, but I can't remember any highlights off the top of my head.
Exactly. You can't.
And
I
he
won't speak for
didn't.
you. I can't remember a single. Almost every you name a running back, even if they're a rando, I can usually pull a highlight out of somewhere.
Mhm.
And I know, like, I can picture Frank Gore busting through some holes and taking it off for like, 60, 70 touchdowns, but like
60, 70 touchdowns.
60, 70 yard touchdowns. But I can't think of like a moment, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, I think of obviously he started earlier, but Chris Johnson, Adrian Peterson, Brian Westbrook a little bit earlier, um, Arian
I
Foster
mean,
a little bit later than that. I can think of highlights in my head of watching them on YouTube. I don't think I've ever pulled up Frank Gore highlights on YouTube.
yeah, because it's him running right up the middle, hitting the hole, and taking what's there, and
San
like
Francisco's O line was pretty good too, right?
they're solid. It's just I don't know. It's just like
He's going to be a Hall of Famer though, right?
he there's no way I don't think he's a first ballot or maybe not even a second ballot, but he gets in. They can't not put him in for his
This
numbers.
might make some people angry. But how different is he to like an Emmitt Smith?
But Emmitt Smith won.
But was it
Listen,
solely because of him?
listen. Outside of Cowboys Nation or whatever they call themselves, most people when you say Emmitt Smith, they go, he was on one of the best teams ever. He played behind maybe the best O line in league history.
I
Played
guess
with
you're
one of the
right.
best blocking fullbacks in league history, and he was solid. But I think most NFL fans would say that Emmitt Smith is a little bit overrated. And I know a lot of people that don't even put him in their like top five running backs.
Yeah, I was thinking that after I said it because I was like, I wouldn't put him in my top 5, and maybe if I really wanted to think about it, he'd be close to top 10. But I'm also not a Cowboys fan, so
Yeah. Hey, that's our hot take of the week, I guess.
yep.
But it's just like, yeah, at least Emmitt Smith, there's moments. There's that game where he like ripped his shoulder out and kept playing. I can think of lots of goal
Well,
line
maybe Frank
plays where
Gore would have
he's
had more moments if he was in those types of games more often. Maybe we'd think about him a little differently.
yeah. I mean,
When you asked the question Frank Gore Hall of Famer, I immediately said yes. But I still say that. But you're right. If you're Are you saying no? Did you ever say?
If I had, well, I think the whole Hall of Fame voting is a sham, but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer in my opinion. I bet he gets in, but I just don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Well, look at
Frank
it's
Gore,
just
not
for
Hall of Famer.
comparison. Okay, so Frank Gore, he's 16,000 rush yards. He's got 80 like rushing touchdowns. He's a five-time Pro Bowler. On the flip side, look at Jimmy Smith, the receiver for the Jaguars. All right, five-time Pro Bowler. He was on a Super Bowl winning team. He has
Jimmy
almost
Smith
900. You don't know Jimmy Smith?
on the Jaguars,
Yeah,
the receiver.
yeah.
Was he like back with uh what's his name?
Brunel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I must know who
His
he is. Let
rookie
me look
year
him
was
up.
his rookie year was in '92. But listen, he's won a Super Bowl. He's a five-time Pro Bowler. He has almost 900 catches. He has over 12,000 receiving yards, and he has
God.
67 receiving touchdowns. If you look at his numbers, once he broke out in his second year, here's his stats: 1,200 yards, 1,300 yards, 1,100 yards, 1,600 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,300 yards, 1,000, 800, 1,100, 1,000, and then he retired because he started. I think he had like drug issues. Um, I think he should be a Hall of Famer, but most people would say no chance.
That's a tough comparison because he's a receiver.
Yeah, at least he played in the '90s where receivers were getting lit up.
I would say he's a Hall of Famer because, like you just said, he played in the 90s. You mentioned his stats just now. Also, his average is really good. 15,
Yeah,
16,
he's
15,
a
14, 13, 12, 12, 14, 15, 14.
for for any youngsters that don't know Jimmy Smith, one of the best deep threats in the late '90s, early 2000s on that young Jacksonville Jaguars team that actually was making a name for themselves around the league. He was one of the best deep threats at that time.
He had appendicitis complications.
I don't
He got
know.
drafted by
Did
Dallas.
yeah.
Played, didn't play. Sorry, I just noticed this as you were talking. That was 92, and then didn't play until 95, and it says mid-season, missed season, injured. Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know why I couldn't remember him when you said Jimmy Smith, but I remember him. Um, I'm
Well,
surprised he's
also
not a Hall of
nowadays when
Famer.
you say Jimmy Smith, people go, "Oh, Jimmy Smith, the Ravens cornerback."
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we're prisoners of the moment, so
I'm not.
apparently not. Fucking Jimmy Smith pulled out of nowhere. You
Okay,
said Jimmy
enough about
Smith, and I was like, this guy got this name wrong. Who's the right person?
enough about Frank Gore. Um, Fitzmagic. He's finally calling it a career.
Hall of Famer for sure.
I mean, he's got moments like when he was on the Bills slinging it. His first start with the Rams, he had a 21-point comeback. He had that year with the Jets where he lit it up and they became one game short of the playoffs. Played for nearly every team in the league, it seems like. Had that Buccaneers press conference where he walks out with Deshaun Jackson's uh, jacket on, no shirt, and the gold chains. Um, I'm pretty sure you see him around at. Doesn't he like still go to like Buffalo games?
Probably.
Got that marvelous beard.
Yeah, it's funny. He only played with Buffalo for 4 years too. It felt like longer than that.
Yeah, because what were they calling him?
The something rifle,
Amish rifle? Was that what they're
Amish
calling
rifle,
him?
or Polish rifle, or something.
Was maybe it might have been Polish rifle. I don't know, but yeah, I like those
It's
Bills
funny because he didn't
teams.
really have a strong arm, but it kind of looked like the way I don't know when you watch his highlights. It was kind of
Gunslinger.
yeah, it's kind of a rifle.
You know, he really showed a lot of these, and he also maybe is really got really lucky with his it was his career path was go to team as backup. something happens with the starter. He's the fill-in, lights it up, gets paid, and then teams figuring him out, and he gets cut.
Mhm.
Goes as another backup. Starter gets hurt. Starter just falls off. He picks up, borderline saves the season, gets paid, and it happened like 5 times. But he showed that if you're a backup in the league and you kind of just you accept that you have nothing to lose, and when you go out there, you're gonna either make the game-winning play or hey, you're the backup, so who cares? You can play. There's so many backups where like they just never do anything, or they come in and it's just like let's change this channel. But Fitzpatrick came in and he's just slinging the ball all over the place and making plays.
Ultimate professional, always ready.
And then
Obviously, if he went to
the
the
only the,
team,
the only team that could stop him was Washington.
yikes. RJ's not here to
But yeah,
defend himself. He
we
obviously
got
made the starters' hands sweat when he came over too.
well, yeah, and he's bringing
I
that.
thought he had one winning season with Buffalo. They must have started out like what 5-0 one year or something, and then
It
crashed.
was that year that they upset the Patriots,
Was it his
and
first year there? And he get injured because he was 4-4? No, no,
well, that's when
no.
they had. What was that other quarterback they had? Was it Trent something?
I can't remember. He went 6-10 and 6-10 his last 2 years in Buffalo. I forgot he was in Tennessee. That feels like forever ago.
Yeah, Bills
His
quarterback
best year
2010.
statistically and record wise was with New York in 2015, 10 and
Trent
6.
Edwards. It was like
Ah,
Buffalo kept balancing between Trent Edwards and Fitzpatrick, and they
yeah.
paid Fitzpatrick, and I
Well,
don't know.
I bet if you put up his numbers against some Hall of Famers, older Hall of Famers, like what do you think his numbers look like against Troy Aikman?
I mean, we know that there's a chance they're better, but you also
I know
we have
there's
to come to
yeah,
the
I know.
realization that
He has Super Bowl wins and Fitzpatrick was
well,
a
hey,
journeyman.
it's 2022. We can pull up these statistics. So give me like buy me like 30 seconds, and I'll pull it up.
Well, I mean, Fitzpatrick had 223 touchdowns. He had 169 interceptions, which that was like, I mean, ultimate gunslinger, I guess. If he had started his whole career, pretty much every season he started, he threw like 15 or plus interceptions.
Do you want to hear
And
the
only one
numbers?
time threw over 25 touchdowns, which was the year he had 31.
Listen to these career stats. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 60.7 completion percentage, 34,900 pass yards, 6.9 yards an attempt, 223 touchdowns, 169 interceptions. You got that?
Yep.
Troy Aikman, 61.5 completion percentage, 32,000 yards, 7 yards an attempt, 165 touchdowns to 141 interceptions. So
What?
in and they
Wait a
played
minute.
the
Go ahead.
and they Fitzpatrick played 166 career games. Aikman played 165. And Fitzpatrick
Well,
threw
that's
for
horrendous.
2,000 more yards. Fitzpatrick threw for 2,000 more yards, 60 more touchdowns, and like 20 more interceptions. And their completion percentage and their yards per attempt are basically the same.
Interesting.
The only difference is Troy
I didn't
Aikman.
think he would be that much worse
The
touchdowns
only
wise.
difference
I mean, he
is
had
Troy Aikman won a little bit more. His,
yeah, and he had
but
those
yeah,
3
well,
Super Bowls.
it's a different era, but it is funny to like. I feel like that's what used to be our go to all the time. Compare their stats to Aikman.
I know. That was really the best comparison. The best person to compare to Aikman was like McNabb, I thought, because
Yeah, because
McNabb was
McNabb played like right
early
before the
enough.
game changed,
Yeah.
and he didn't really play into this new era, really.
Mhm. So I guess
But
not really fair, but that is funny. Um,
there's gonna be people going, "Well, by the numbers, he should be a Hall of Famer," and most logical people go, "We love Fitz Magic, but he's not a Hall of Famer."
no, I would say no. And one other question, do you think he's really retired?
Yeah, he's made a lot of money. There's a rumor that Amazon wants to bring him in to be a football analyst.
Interesting. Are they hosting games next year?
They're apparently
Or do
I
they
don't
just
know
have
the
a
whole story.
broadcast?
Well, Amazon didn't they get some Thursday night football games?
I thought they broadcasted them, but, like, via a different network. They just showed the game, or is that wrong? Or was it, like, presented by Amazon?
I think it was presented by Amazon, but there was also a rumor that Amazon was gonna like try and get NFL ticket or whatever, like bid on
Mm,
that, and they probably have their own broadcast crew for some games. But I mean,
it was gonna happen eventually.
players are making more money broadcasting. You just gotta be good at it and not be like Drew Brees or
He would definitely be
who
good color commentary.
what was the Cowboys tight end? Wow, Jason Witten
Oh
sucked,
god.
sucked every
Witten.
game.
Jason
Yeah,
Witten.
every game it would be well the tight end ran a good route on that play or Rob
It wasn't even
Gronkowski.
just
Look at that
him,
seal
though.
block.
He
The
was, like, the
team
color commentary guy, and he was bad, and then the play-by-play guy, I don't remember his name, he wasn't good, and then I'll never f not to get off topic, but there was an Eagles Monday night game, and they talked for a good 30 minutes in the middle of the game, and it wasn't a blowout from what I remember, of just random stuff. I'm like, "What are y'all doing?"
didn't they go on like a tangent about like a college game in the middle of an NFL game or
yeah,
something like that?
yeah. I'm sure they did it all the time, but that Eagles game, I remember, like, they were not talking about the Eagles game. It was in the middle of, like, a drive in the, like, 2nd quarter. I'm like, "This is ridiculous." I think I may have muted it. Monday Night Football needs to get their stuff together.
I think I think
Well,
the
who got
Manning cast is gonna be more popular.
I do like the
Going,
Manning cast. Where did, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman go?
I don't like Joe Buck
Sunday
and
Night
Troy Aikman.
Football?
Perhaps
They left
I
Fox. Either way.
yeah, I don't pay attention to that.
Ryan
Um,
Fitzy, good career. Probably not Hall of Famer, but good career.
number 2 in the field, number 1 in our hearts.
Speak for yourself.
Last retiree, Alex Mack, center for the Browns and Falcons and 49ers. I don't want to be wrong, so give me a second.
No, he played for San Fran his last year, played with Atlanta for
Okay, I was
5
right.
years.
Yeah. And I mean, he's a 7-time Pro Bowler. He was voted to um the all 2010s decade team for center. Centers typically don't get a lot of love. Um but maybe he seeks into the Hall of Fame. Eventually they try and get a fresh player in for every position. So
Yeah, I mean, if you look at I mean, a little less stats wise. I don't have his sack numbers in front of me, but I mean, he played every game. He started every game except for in 2014 he missed, I guess he was injured. He only played 5 games. And then his last year with Atlanta, he only played 14 games. But in all those years, he only had 1, 2, 3 seasons where he had over 5 penalties total.
I mean, honestly, in recent history, once like Jeff Saturday and Sean O'Hara retired, and I mean, I don't. It's a center, so I don't remember all the centers in the league. Like he was like, if someone was like on the street said, "Hey, name a center in the NFL," other than like naming well Travis Kelsey,
Jason
but
Kelsey.
Jason Kelsey, like other than that, Alex Mack. Well, he plays him and his cheap brother. Um, but yeah, Alex Mack. I mean, most people know who he is. He's
Yeah, I
anchored a
mean,
lot of good offensive lines.
yeah, I mean, we know how I feel about Cleveland, but I mean, I always remember him being with Cleveland and Atlanta, a model of consistency. And like you said, it's the center. So I mean, in reality, for the most part, for offensive linemen in general, the less you hear about them, unless they're really, really, really good or like eccentric, like Jason Kelsey. You hear about him a lot because he has he's kind of a loud guy. And he has those clips with the Super Bowl and whatnot. But I mean, the
He's
casual
also
fan.
on like so many highlight videos of making downfield
Well, yeah, he's
blocks.
a freak athlete too. But I mean, with offensive linemen and centers, the casual fan, they're not going to know offensive linemen unless they make a bad play on because on for the most part in a game, you're seeing offensive linemen make a bad play if they get pointed out or if they make a really good play. But for the most part, it's penalties or something like that. So I mean, like you said, you think about some of those other offensive linemen, but Alex Mack is a I don't know
I
if he'll make
mean,
the Hall of Fame or not, but
we can agree um he is a very good player throughout his career, and most teams would have been happy to have him. But again, like we said, he played center. The last center that I can recall that I was like when he retired, I was like he is 100% a Hall of Famer was Kevin Mulay. Um,
screw that guy.
but he pretty much that's not even for a real life reason
I
for
know,
him having you.
but you
But he
knew.
basically was like he was like oh yeah he was basically a guaranteed Pro Bowler like nearly every year of his career, and even to his last couple of years was still playing at an elite level.
Hmm.
But that's another story. So that does it for the retirees. No one cares about them anyway. They're not in the league anymore. Transitioning to some sad news. It was announced this week that Marion Barber passed away at the age of, I think he was 38.
38, I think.
Um, Drafted out of Minnesota by the Cowboys, fourth round, earned the nickname the Barbarian. Um, a lot of people, he was one of their favorite running backs for that violent running style. I would hope most people have seen his run against the Patriots, which is like hailed as the greatest 2 yard run in NFL history. It probably is. He ran like 50 yards and broke like 8 tackles just to gain 2 yards and save a safety. I don't think they've released the cause of death yet, but sad news. I feel like it's like almost every week uh, someone passes away, current or retired player.
Yeah,
Um, I
not
just want to
the
take a moment to address that.
yeah RIP for sure. I remember. I mean, being an Eagles fan, he definitely had a few runs against us. I think he had. Remember off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure one of his better highlight touchdowns was against us, throwing people off. Can't remember off the top of my head, but definitely earned his nickname. And not to speculate, but hopefully he didn't have a rough second part of his life after retirement due to football, and it wasn't. Hopefully, it wasn't CTE related or anything like that. But that's just speculation since we don't know. But
Yeah, we'll be sure to follow up, get more details for it. But yeah, any power backs out there, he's a great example in his career. Keep your feet moving, and good things happen.
hmm it's funny
Feet
because
were
the one
always,
year he made the Pro Bowl, he didn't start any games.
yeah, it
16
was funny.
games, 0 starts, but he had almost 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns.
I
Good
when they
average
announced
too.
his passing, I of course pulled up his highlights, pulled up his stats, and it led me down a rabbit hole of the like mid 2000s running backs, and I was looking at him, Brandon Jacobs, Thomas Jones, Cedric Benson, also
Oh,
RIP.
Cedric Benson, I forgot about him.
Yeah, it was a lot of good running backs. It was a good era.
hmm
Now it's all receivers and pass heavy stuff.
Cedric Benson, I remember the one play he had. It was the
Against the
wild card
Jets
game against the Jets
playoffs.
when he
Yeah,
got the old butt bounce tackle and flung back up. That was impressive.
yeah. I always liked Cedric Benson because he had the flame tattoos like was coming
hmm
off his gloves. A little cheesy, but I liked it. But Yeah, let's try and have a super depressing show. Is slim
Too
pickings for
late.
topics this week, so bear with us. Other news, could be probably nothing, but I always look into these things probably too much because it's the degenerate football fan in me. There was a story about Najee Harris, Steelers running back, bulked up. Pictures were going around. I mean, he looks big. He already was big, but of course he starts getting he's listed at like 6'2" now. Supposedly he's at like 245 or whatever. And he had an okay rookie year. Um, Steelers put a lot on his plate. The efficiency wasn't there, but it always makes me nervous when professional athletes mess with their weight because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so he tweeted so the reporter tweeted, Najee Harris now weighs 244 pounds. He weighed 232 pounds as a rookie. Najee Harris tweeted back, I weighed 240 last year, and then a couple other things about reporters not knowing what they're talking about.
Well, I mean, we can only go off of what the team lists. So it's like Vince Wilfork was listed at 320 his whole career, and that was the biggest lie ever.
Yeah. Um,
He does look bigger. Like
I
from
haven't
what I've
seen.
seen,
I would have to
he looks
look.
like a unit.
Yeah, I mean, if he looks like, if I mean, if he just looks like a big jack guy now, I mean, is it really that? Is it a concern?
I mean, extra weight, extra wear and tear on the joints. You got to think about stamina. Not everyone can be Derrick Henry. Look at Eddie Lacy, for example, ate his way out of the league.
Eddie Lacy's different.
Um,
He was fat.
Eddie Lacy was elite for 3 years, like
I wouldn't call him
elite.
elite, but
Let me
he was
pull these
good.
numbers. Let me pull up the
Listen,
pre-cheeseburger Eddie
I'm fat.
Lacy.
I
You're
shouldn't
not
be
an NFL
saying.
athlete.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not. I shouldn't be calling anybody fat. That's what I'm saying. I shouldn't be calling Eddie Lacy fat. He's in way better shape than I
Oh,
am. But for an NFL athlete, Eddie Lacy, let go of himself. I mean, who's the? I mean, the bus. He was fat, but he somehow was a great running back.
but yeah, but it worked for him, and he never changed. Like, look at CC Sabathia. He was a fat pitcher, and hopefully we don't get canceled for fat shaming. And then
We're not
he had
fat shaming. I just said
and
I'm fat.
he lost a lot of weight towards the end of his career, and all of a sudden he sucked. And it's because everyone has a perfect weight where their body just operates the best. And then you know what? Before CC Sabathia retired, he put on a little bit more huskiness, and he was kind of back to the old CC Sabathia. But yeah, Eddie Lacy's first 2 years rushing for 1,100 yards, over 4 yards a carry, 11 and 9 touchdowns respectively. And then the weight concerns came on, and more than anything is just he couldn't stay healthy anymore. And that's where I start to get nervous. Is you tweak with your body, and you see it more with boxers, right? There's there's heavy boxers, there's ripped boxers, there's boxers that look like regular dudes, and it just depending on your body type and your body makeup, it just works. And when you tweak that and you're competing at professional level, sometimes you don't know how it's going to affect you until you get out there on the big stage and it doesn't work right.
Yeah, I just I haven't seen the picture of him.
I mean, he doesn't look fat,
I
but
know,
he
but I mean,
made
if he does, I mean, if you say he looks like jacked compared to last year, but I mean, he was big last year. I mean, 230 to 240. My concern with him was already that he is a bigger back. I mean, 235 is already big. And the thing about Derrick Henry that's a little different, he runs different. Derrick Henry can like stiff arm you into the ground and run you over, but he's like built like a superhero.
he's smooth.
Yeah, he's smooth. His legs aren't huge. Like,
Derrick
they're
Henry
long, but his upper body is huge. His legs are just like, yeah, they're built legs. Like, they're not Saquon Barkley.
Derrick Henry is more Eric Dickerson, Jim Brown than he is Nick Chubb, Earl Campbell.
Right.
He's just a strong runner. He's not a bowling ball.
Yeah, and, like, it's never like, yeah, the Titans run him a lot, but it's never seemed like they're running him into the ground, and he just doesn't look like he gets worn out. I didn't watch a lot of Steelers games last year. I watched Najee Harris's highlights, but he had 381 touches. That had to have been like,
Red flag.
yeah, that's your rookie year. He had a 3.9 average carrying, so he's running into off like, I mean, he's their offensive
I mean, their
line
O
wasn't
line's
good, huh?
trash. Their
Yeah.
O line's trash.
So I mean, he's running into contact. Being a regular running back, that would be a concern. And I mean, he is big. I don't know if he has any injury history. I don't think so.
I
But
can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I would say, regardless of the 10-pound weight gain he has, I would be concerned as a Steelers fan, anyways. Um, so I mean, we'll see if it affects him.
I mean, it's just that's the state of the league right now. You get a running back on a rookie deal, use them and abuse them, and then if they survive, try and get them on that, you know, 4 year, but it's really a 2 year contract. Otherwise, let him. I mean, look what the Steelers did with James Conner. They said, "Hey, see ya,"
Yeah,
and then he goes and has a solid year with the Cardinals, but no one even batted an eye when the Steelers cut him. In my opinion, they was like, "Yeah, it makes sense." Look at Ezekiel Elliott. As soon as Tony Pollard comes around, everyone's like, "Cut Elliott, like he ain't worth it."
I mean, you can see the juice difference in those two.
Well, Ezekiel Elliott, I think his average has gone down every single year.
Yeah, he still makes plays, but I mean, he had a decent year last year. I thought he just not the same burst he used to have. I mean, keep him in to make smart plays, I guess, but screw that guy, anyways.
I mean, he's eating after every play, so that got to be weighing him down by now.
That's the worst celebration in sports.
I hated that. Not to get off topic, but that Cowboys like commercial where they're all
Yeah, when he's
sitting at the
sitting and
table
eating this
with
bowl of
it.
cereal.
You know, just like this is who cleared this.
Yeah, it was the worst. You were talking about teams running backs into the ground while they're on their rookie deal still. I feel like the Titans didn't utilize Derrick Henry that much his first like 3 years didn't. Like he never had.
You know, because they had DeMarco Murray, and then they even had his third year. They were like, "We'll still give Dion Lewis a bunch of touches."
Yeah, they weren't expecting. People weren't expecting Derrick Henry to be what he was. Like I thought he was impressive his first few years with what he was dealt with what he was dealt. Um, but nobody was expecting this, King Henry.
I'll be honest. I didn't hate the pick. Got him in the second round, and everyone saw what he was at Alabama. And I actually have been following Derrick Henry since he was in high school because he was putting up those insane numbers. And so I followed him in high school, college, and by sure luck, he ended up on my team. I wasn't. I didn't think too much of it until the Chiefs Titans playoff game where Mariota got the self touchdown and it was kind of an upset,
Hmm.
and Derrick Henry went off for like 150 yards or something, and I was like, okay, big
This guy's a
players
stud.
show up in big moments. This guy's something, and then the Titans built their team around him, and he like people want to. He really only has like two bad games in his career. Like
Hmm.
he really doesn't miss.
Yeah, I feel like player he was hyped up because of his size and whatnot and his athleticism, and I feel like those players also Alabama running backs. I don't think are notoriously that
Durable.
durable. Um, so definitely
Saban,
under the radar.
I mean, Alabama is a machine or a football factory, and Nick Saban gets all the juice out of you that there is. And a lot of players come out of Alabama, and their bodies are already broken. They've already reached their peak.
Yeah, let me ask you a question about Najee Harris because you know the player. Um, this might be a tough answer, anyways, or an impossible answer, but do you think he would be better suited in a different role than being like a bell cow running back? Like if he could be a Brandon Jacobs type role?
No, I think if you there are there is a lag. I mean, the NFL's moved to a running back by committee. It's been happening the last decade, and there are truly only a handful of real bell cow players, and I think he is one. I just think that they had no vertical threat for the most part last year, and they had a bad O line, and they had a quarterback that couldn't move. So he was in not the worst situation. That could be Saquon Barkley, but he is in a pretty bad situation.
Don't you think it's a bad business decision that they made with the poor roster they had, especially for a running back, but they just still ran him into the ground? Like you don't want to ever like obviously you want to put the best product on the field and you don't want to like lose games, especially the Steelers. But
I'm
I
all
don't know.
about getting a. I think I have more of an old school mindset, and I'm all about getting a good running game, and I think and like really imposing your will on another team. But and I'm all about building your team through the trenches. But I do think in a lot of these situations when teams take a running back, I mean, take Zeke off the board because the Cowboys had like the best O line in the league and they got him. But the Steelers with Najee Harris, the Giants with Barkley, the Jaguars with Leonard Fournette.
Let me ask you a
Um,
question. This is might be the dumb. I just thought of it off the top of my head. Do you think there would be any validity to these super talented running backs that are like possibly top 5 picks, but maybe not anymore because just the way that the league's going? Do you think teams would ever consider handling them like quarterbacks where not that
and
they're
sitting them.
yes. So if you get
I
a
was gonna
player
say
like
that.
Saquon Barkley and you know he's a beast and you know he's ready, but your team's not quite there and you don't
So
have a
this is what.
quarterback per se, like do you consider sitting him for 2 years or a year until you get a little bit better of a roster? Maybe you have another crappy year and get a quarterback and then you're like,
So
"Okay, now go out there."
this is what I was thinking. And it's not. It probably still isn't fair to running backs because you're affecting their wallet. I would handle running backs like MLB teams handle pitchers. Young pitchers are given a pitch count, usually at the beginning of the year, for the whole year. It's usually broken up into game by game, but they say, this is how many pitches we want you to throw this year. I would take my young running back and assuming your plan works and not every team could do this, but I'd be like, listen, your first year, I only want you to get 200 touches. Your second year, assuming we're better, then we can go to 250. And in an ideal world, you don't like 300 touches is still a lot, but if you're a good team and you have like an elite running back, sure, give him the 300 touches, but I would make him work his way up to it because you're saving the running back from themselves and you're buying your team some protection, hopefully. Because like, let's say the Panthers actually knew what they were doing and were building a good team, Christian McCaffrey might already be done. I think we all like the moves the Giants are making moving forward, but we're already talking about they'd be better off trading Barkley.
Mhm.
The Jaguars had that one really good year with Fournette when they almost went to the Super Bowl, and their team fell apart. And Fournette, I think he is a talented running back, and you see it more on the Buccaneers. But the Jaguars, he was just going to waste his potential.
He seems like he turned
And
into a pass catcher.
well, it's because Tom Brady, like, he really is
I didn't think he was that
that
good
good at.
at being a catcher.
Well, he doesn't have the best hands in the world, but Tom Brady, the thing about him, and I don't usually praise him a lot, he makes his check down reads so quick. So as a running back, you're getting the ball and you're able to make a clean catch and then make a play. You're not catching it at a weird body position or catching it with a defender right on you. He makes that quick read, and if he's going to check down to you, you're getting it. It's almost like a long handoff, and that really helps the running backs.
Mm,
But this goes back to why I think Derrick Henry is so valuable, because he's one of the few running backs. I mean, I know he got hurt this year, but it was more of a freak injury than like it's not a torn ACL or Achilles or
mhm.
like a broken leg. The Titans are built around him, and I don't think there's a lot of running backs that for 4 years can really handle that anymore. You just don't see it.
Yep, I agree with all that.
But yeah,
I can
we'll
see
see.
Derrick Henry's gonna have a bounce back year. I mean, he had almost 1,000 yards in what, played 10 games, if that, or 7.
9, and he
Yeah,
got hurt in his ninth game.
crazy. The Saquon Barkley
Yeah,
thing too is crazy because he came out like flying out of the gates. Like I was afraid to put like to go against him as an Eagles fan. He had, I think he had, well, he at least had one really good game against us. I mean, he had what, 1,300 yards and like 800 yards receiving or something like that.
I think he had like over 2,000 yards from scrimmage his rookie year.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it was a product of wear and tear, but he just got injured. I guess can't get over
Just
those
you
injury
get the
hump.
bug,
Yeah.
like, and sometimes with like, I also bring this up. Sometimes with those guys that like Saquon Barkley is a freak. Like he's huge. He's got those huge thighs, like full muscle, prototype athletic numbers. But sometimes when you're all that jacked up, like it puts a you're. I mean, the human body was only designed to do so much. Like Derrick Henry is a big dude, and he is like you. He is a strong, fast, um, strength speed ratio freak, but like he kind of has a little bit of a chunk to him, like
When I look at Derrick Henry, he just looks structurally sound.
yeah, that's a better way to put it, I
And
guess.
and I know it's easy to say this after like looking at like he's been relatively healthy his whole career, and then you look at Squan Barkley who hasn't. But I mean, like you were just saying, like the amount you don't just get late. Some of it's genetics, but you don't get like thighs like that without powerlifting, and that's already going to put stress on your legs. And then that much, like it's not like your tendons get muscular; they are what they are,
Well, it's like
and you're putting stress
a
on
lot
them.
of a lot. I listen to a lot of like shows that have like career powerlifters on it and whatnot, and they all say like like unless your goal is to lift heavy weights, there's really no point to doing like deadlifts and like heavy squats and heavy bench presses, because in the long run they're worse for you. Like sure, you're going to bulk up and you're going to be able to lift a lot of weight, but unless your purpose is to be able to lift a lot of weight, there's really in the long run no point to doing it.
Hmm.
Which is also why I think trainers for these teams are so important, because every trainer has their own philosophy. And that's why you see when a team gets the injury bug, usually the first person to go is their team trainer. That's what happened with the Ravens. I think that's what happened with the Eagles the one year that they had all those injuries.
Yeah, I think
Um,
they finally did.
and you gotta, and even like if you grabbed like two physical therapists and you pull them on their like beliefs and theories, they'll probably give you two completely different answers. Um, Human body is very delicate.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, it's delicate when you have 300-pound guys running at you full speed to kill you.
yeah, I think it's sometimes it's unfair. I mean, when you have a situation like the Ravens, like you could be like, "What's going on?" Like the trainers are they doing anything? But at the same time, it's I mean, injuries are luck. Obviously, a violent sport like football. Um, I don't know. It's tough to talk about injuries, but
Look at Jerry Rice. He said that he freaking just ran that big hill in California all the time, and that's like all he did, and played for like what 20 years, and wasn't a freak athlete, but was putting up numbers on Hall of Fame cornerbacks and defenders his whole career, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Joe Montana. He had chicken legs and one of the best quarterbacks ever.
You don't think they don't lift that much during the regular season, do they?
I don't. Well, they have lifting days, but I think
Just to stay in shape.
it's like maintenance and stuff.
Yeah.
Like Derrick Henry always says that he loses a lot of weight in during season because he can't lift weights as much. So he he drops, and he says his like second year he was on a show, and he said that after football he might want to like consider like professional like powerlifting or whatever. And he said he would want to like bulk up to like 260, 270
Mm.
so he could get stronger and do that. And I was like, well, whatever, that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and think about the amount of calories they probably burn in one game. No, I take that back.
That
Maybe
would,
not as much because they do sit around a lot. It's more just the physical toll of getting
I
hit.
would be more interested. What'd you say?
The physical toll of just getting hit.
What I would be interested in is in training camp in the middle of it when they're just going at it like that's their like whole day for like however many weeks that is. I'd be interested in some study to see how many calories like a player burns during like a day of training camp.
Yeah, different sport, but I think it was LeBron James was talking about how much calories he burned in a basketball game. I burned
I,
5,000 calories.
yeah, I thought that was a load of crap, so I don't want to
I don't
talk
know
about
if it
that.
was him
Yeah,
or not, but I think it was.
I think it was him, and I was just like, "Is that your excuse for dehydrating, cramping up in the playoffs all those times?"
Oh God, don't get me started on that.
That was not to get started on that, but for me that was such a clear example of someone quitting on their team, and they're like, "Oh, I cramped."
What year was that?
So 2012,
Was that Miami?
2013. Yeah, against the Spurs.
Hmm. Yeah, screw that guy, but he is one of the best of all time.
He is a billionaire.
Yep. We're just guys on YouTube not doing nothing.
One day.
More clicks, people.
More clicks, more shares. Come
More.
on. More. But yeah, this is really such a dull time in football. Like, I can't. I need to get past OTAs. Like, I can't talk about Lamar Jackson waiting to sign a contract or not anymore. Like, I need to see like actual player workouts and getting close to preseason so I can enjoy this.
Listen, the people who do watch football stuff right now do care about this stuff.
Well, I ain't getting paid to go to training camps and interview.
You're the
I wish
basic
I get.
fan out there, though. We're just fans.
I wish I could get like a press tag and go and just interview coaches right now.
Listen, if like by the time next Super Bowl comes around, or maybe like 2 years or something, and we could like somehow get game passes for the Super Bowl, and like just get a couple mics with like the no interference logo, that would be pretty cool. I have no
That'd be
idea how you
nice.
do that, but can we just sign up, put like a raffle ticket in?
If anyone knows how to do it, DM us.
Yeah.
I just want to go to the Ravens training
We'll
camp and just
measure
ask
me
John
against
Harbaugh.
every single NFL player in the Super Bowl.
We'll take bets ahead of time. Who's bigger, Sasquatch or NFL player?
See? Great ideas.
Actually, you could probably just sneak in, put on like a warm up suit with
Like we
like
used
a
to
number
say
on it,
back in the day, put a not sweatsuit,
tracksuit.
tracksuit on in the airport, walk around, see how many people would, who do you play for? But obviously I don't look like an athlete anymore.
You'll just go a Wisconsin hoodie, and they're like, "Oh, that's definitely a lot. He plays left tackle in the NFL for sure."
I play for East Dakota State. Never heard of that school.
Oh,
It's the sister school of North Dakota.
South Harmon Institute of Technology.
That's funny.
That's a good one. Well, anything else you wanted to chit chat about?
I think that'll wrap it up for today.
All right.
We're excited for the season start and training camp, and ready to see teams go to work and start making some predictions.
Cool. So that does it for the show. This is episode 14 of No Interference, if I'm keeping track right, and I'm probably not. But
14.
we are probably going to, in the next few episodes, do an off-season breakdown of our win-loss predictions for every team. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you to all of our fans, listeners, or people who are bored on YouTube for following us, watching the videos. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, drop a comment. I would love to see some more comments.
More
Give me
comments.
something to do. Smash that like button if you like the Wright Brothers podcast, West Side and Sass. If this becomes our number one viewed video, we will kick RJ off the show. You heard it here.
He's gonna have to make his own channel.
But thanks for watching. See you next time.
See you later.